The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel teaches you how to develop healthier relationships with money and make smarter financial decisions. Rather than pretending that humans are solely ROI optimizing machines, Housel demonstrates how your psychology can work for or against you. Believe it or not, there was a janitor named Ronald Reed who saved up to $8 million before he died in 2014. Yep, you heard that right. Janitor. $8 million. And he didn't win the lottery or inherit the money either. He just saved consistently throughout his life, while allowing the wonders of compounding to work its magic. The lesson to learn here is that good financial behavior is often more valuable than intelligence. It's not necessary to have a degree from a prestigious university or to be employed on a Wall Street machine to accumulate wealth. You can achieve this by adopting sound financial habits. This is a top 6 takeaway summary of The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And this is Joe, bringing you the best tips and tools for achieving financial freedom through smart investing. The capitalist system has 2 significant tools, creating prosperity and creating jealousy. The desire to outdo your neighbors, colleagues, and acquaintances can drive your ambition and motivate you to succeed. And certainly, striving to be productive and perform meaningful work is a good thing. But comparisons with others can also leave us feeling like we're not good enough. Let's run through some numbers. If you want to be part of the top 1% of earners in the United States, you need to make about $500,000 every year. A doctor who is really skilled, and let's call him Alex, is one of those people who can make this much money, and most people would say that he's wealthy. He can afford to buy fancy cars, travel to different countries on a long vacation, or even pay someone else to do his boring work. Alex is happy with the way things are going in his life and how successful he has been financially. However, things changed when he purchased a holiday house in the Hamptons and discovered that his neighbor was a guy named Jim. Jim belongs to the top 1% of the 1%. He's a CEO of a really big company that everyone knows about, and he makes an incredible $10 million every year. You would think that Jim would be really happy with all that money, but he is not. Jim and Jack Dorsey go way back. They were childhood friends. Jack Dorsey is a successful entrepreneur, and he is in the top 1% of the 1% of the 1%, which is a really exclusive club. When you compare Jack Dorsey's fortune of around $4 billion to Jim's yearly salary of $10 million, Jim's salary seems really small. And that's not even the end of it. Sometimes Jack goes to party with famous people, and a guy named Jeff Bezos is there. Bezos is in the top 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. And in 2020 alone, his net worth increased by a staggering $75 billion, bringing it up to approximately $200 billion. There's always someone richer or more successful. Comparing ourselves to others has led many people to make bad choices. Some have taken big risks with their money to try and climb higher, but ended up losing everything and even taken their own lives. Some have broken the law by using secret information and lost their reputation, and in some cases, even their freedom. Others have ignored their loved ones in the pursuit of wealth, only to end up alone or betrayed. Investors are only human, and it's all too common for mistakes to happen when it comes to their financial decisions. As such, it is crucial to include room for error when building your stock portfolio. A friend of mine, Rick, serves as a cautionary tale of consequences of not having financial security. Rick was never cautious with his money, and always spent his paychecks on trips and beers without caring about saving money. When Bitcoin started to rise, he invested $5,000 in it. A few years passed and Bitcoin had a hard time, but it eventually grew to be 5 times bigger than before. One day I encountered him, and I asked about his investment, assuming he was making great profit by now. But he said that he had to sell it at half the price because he needed to buy a motorcycle. Rick could now have had 5 times more, but because he didn't have any savings, he had to sell his investment when it wasn't convenient. Planning for room of error is important when investing in Bitcoin or any asset because it allows for unexpected events that may impact the investment. In the case of Rick, he needed to sell half of his Bitcoin investment when it wasn't convenient because he didn't have any savings or a safety margin. If he had planned for room for error, such as having a separate emergency fund or allocating funds for unexpected expenses, he would have been able to hold on to his investment for longer and potentially have seen greater returns. Let's imagine that you want a new chain that looks really nice. You go to the store, you look at the chains. You want something that will make your friends and your girlfriend impressed. You have two choices. You can pay for the chain, or you can steal it and run away because, well, you're fast. But I think you would choose the smarter option, even if you were Usain Bolt. You would use your card to pay for it and do the right thing. The idea is that you understand that getting a new chain has a cost, a fee. The same goes for investing. It also has a cost. In the videos available on this channel, there are several recurring lessons for achieving high returns. One of them is having a concentrated portfolio. The performance of such a portfolio has a certain characteristic. It will be volatile. This is the cost, the fee, of earning high returns in the stock market over a long period of time. If you don't have the nerve to stay on course when your net worth decreases by, for instance, 20% in a single week, due to two of your main holdings' quarterly earnings being below what analysts predicted, you should not try to maximize your returns. This is because the higher the returns, the higher this fee typically is. Let's imagine that a decade ago, you had an incredible vision for the bright future of Facebook, prompting you to invest a significant portion of your net worth into its stock. Now, you would be one very wealthy individual. However, could you have afforded the price of this journey? During the same period, Facebook has experienced several significant downturns. If you had invested during these periods, would you have persevered during times like 2011 when Facebook lost a massive number of customers, causing the stock price to plummet by 80% over the following months? Your portfolio returns would have looked dreadful. What would you have said to your spouse and kids? Could you have faced them, knowing that you might have jeopardized their future? Would you still believe that investing almost everything in Facebook was a smart move? John was a man with a clear plan for his life. He had always been focused on goals and knew exactly what he needed to do to achieve them. He worked hard, saved his money, and invested in education, believing that it would pay off in the long run. One day, John was offered an opportunity that seemed too good to pass up. A friend of his has started a new business and offered John a partnership. The friend promised to handle all the details, and John wouldn't have to do anything except invest some money. John was hesitant at first, but he was tempted by the promise of a quick return on his investment. John invested his money and waited for the profits to roll in. However, things did not go according to plan. The business struggled, and John's investment started to dwindle. He began to regret his decision and wished that he had stuck to his original plan. In hindsight, John realized that he had made a mistake. He had been lured in by the promise of a quick return and had not done his due diligence. He had failed to ask important questions and had not fully understood the risks involved. John also realized that nothing is free. He had been offered a seemingly effortless way to make money, but it had come with strings attached. He had given up control of his investment and not been fully aware of the details. These were just a handful of the fascinating lessons from the book. So, if you're eager to learn more, I highly suggest you pick up yourself a copy.